All right, I have a few saved up on my watch list, but usually, like I said, if I don't get to them right now, or I catch them all where they don't throw them up right there, or GPT-3 doesn't kick one before I make it through the fall here, uh, how I would want to orientate to why the pattern in itself isn't all a single stream lineup. Because again, because I like to kick in other indexes, because, well, that happens naturally. You would see different timestamps to a different frame rate while tracking it, or trying to huddle the ZBrush engine to deal with the shading on this thing to tell you what the differential would be, which ones you want to take inside of here, whose line am I trying, which one benefits me if I'm trying to reduce timelines to be able to put it down into some system that's sensible given the fire control tech on OP briefs, right? You know, you're going to get in here that salty and sharp shit about the law here at the table, and somebody sat in here we're talking about. Jim Cramer says the friction driving the volatility is going to shift, but there's one up here about the sideways market, right? So, you know, that's on my line to the set, and I've been running a couple of them. I might want to double down, right? That's the psychology to, you know, autism, hypervigilance, or whatever we want to call the dual diagnosis, the derivative of a derivative on a calculus form that makes me want to click that. It makes the fuzzy bunny feeling go in my brain, which I like. Makes me feel good. It's a golden ratio. Capital form of golden ratio. There, I do believe what we have. You know, again, I have a general set without a Ukraine model about giving up Crimea. Do they still have Crimea? Did they give it back? Was there a deal on the contract of the OP brief to do things? Did they come in and roll in with tanks one way or the other? Whether they have this to do the timeline at Crimea and the cost lines to say, well, I got to join NATO, otherwise the timeline of the cost, the ore rights, wherever this is going to what I could keep inside of there, but locally with my best soldier of yours, or the timeline of the overall winter game calculus of what soldiers go where and who can train those soldiers. Damn, inside of the system about what's up. You know, because they're really in the end of that, especially when you deal with military personnel and tank drivers, stuff like that. At the end of it, they're either equally matched. You got there, we were soldiers on top of that Vietnam Hill. Obviously, with the 7 cavalry leader, Putin, if that's what I'm going to tell you, a lot of those dudes walking into the Thresher about, or Jesse, California Senate, and nuking Mars out there with the fog on the bridge in the morning, and how many accidents, minor or major, inside of those timelines before you start to differentiate shit in town about people, why their reasonability for the time work fraud case is the way it is. You know, that's going to be a keyword search on an algorithm that does some basic hardline, just a huge mining work of the most general programmings that collapsed into the cosmological differential of that system inside of there. So,
Maybelline New York's new Colossal
and
Pro
getting some
Bounce Mascara.
polygons, and
Now
again
skip
that
the lash
Mikowskian
curler.
space line
Get
for the
big
regular
curl
worker, but
volume,
nobody's
no
on it and
hassle.
nobody's paying
Our
attention
Curl
to
and
it. And,
Bounce
and not
Brush
all
and
city
Mimic
spaces
Curl
look like that.
Formula
It's
for up to
generally good.
24-hour
You
wear.
can say
New
by the
Colossal Pro
IH
Bounce
sectum of
Mascara from
all the
Maybelline New
cities
York.
in America or China or Russia or
Taking
anywhere
a look at
else,
tonight's big
this one is
earnings
up, this one's
movers.
down. Doesn't take
Alphabet
Plague
maintaining its
Incorporated,
gains.
that
It is up now by
alphabets.
about
Oh,
8%. GM is 1% gain there.
looking
Take a look at
dry,
Gilead
Tank Tag Man.
Sciences. That is down by almost 4%. And PayPal continues its slide
To be
after hours,
holding.
down by more than 16%. Welcome back to Fast Money. Strong beginning to February. Stocks on a 3-day win streak with all 3 major indices closing higher today. But our next guest is urging investors to brace for a messy
If you
market.
still
Savita
needed a
Subramanian
restaurant
is
in
the head
town,
of
I
the
don't
U.S.
understand
Equity
why
and
it's different.
Quantitative
If you still
Strategy at
needed
BofA
a
Securities. Savita, it's
thing
always great to
in
see
your
you.
program limit to
So the 10%
differentiate
correction
the
is
subway standard
likely
model.
behind us. But what do you mean by a messy market ahead?
Look, I just don't think
It's your
it's
business
time
school, and
to
in the end
buy
of
the
it, it's not a
S&P
secret. At
500
the end of it, they
wholesale.
still
I
have to
don't
do
think
those
this is going to be a
differentials, and
year
they'll stand
where
out. If
the
you had the
S&P turns
competitive
in great
index on it and
returns.
you're still
And
not going
so
for the
just to
Fed
set
and
the
they
stage,
decide to take
our
for it, well,
target for
that's
the
what you'll
S&P
have to
this year is
accept by
4,600.
gatekeeper
It's a
playing
little bit
bar.
higher than where we are today, but I think that between today and year
And if
end,
they use
we're
it
going to
like
hit
that,
that
go in
target
there, see how
multiple
you come
times, and we're
out
going
with
to
the
see
way the
some big
language
swings in the
works.
market. And I kind of feel like this year is a year where we recalibrate expectations to an environment where cash yields are likely to move from
Or you could
zero,
fashion a post,
worthless
but you could
today,
still clip a
to something
general.
closer to
I mean,
2%
they're not paying
by the
attention
end of
running
the
on the
year. And
farm
this is
on
our
different frame
economist's
rates, and
latest
yeah, they're
rates
going to get
forecast.
clipped.
So I think it's going to be a year where we are shocked by the volatility. We've already seen quite a volatile January. And what I think is interesting is that a lot of what we were forecasting came true in January.
There's a lot about
so now
busting your
we're sitting
hand
here
with a hammer
thinking,
and how you hold
okay,
it.
now what?
A 3-pounder when
tech
she,
took
you
it
know,
on the
you
chin.
know,
We thought that
some
value
kids
would
watching you. You
outperform
think they're
growth.
gonna give
We saw
up
the
the
best
thing
month
about
for
Don the
value
mechanic
versus
because he
growth since
busted
the
his
tech
hand and ate
bubble.
it.
So now
And
I
dusted
think
right
it's time
back
to
off, and we're
sift
right back
through all
into
the
it
rubble
now,
and look
if
for
not more so.
good,
But at any
high-quality
rate,
companies with free cash flow, and that
out
would
of
be my
experience, we
mantra
are
for the
out there
year: is
being
just
leaders.
use volatility as a buying opportunity for high-quality free
just
cash flow yielders.
a bald duality like the rest
Dave
of
Edmonds
us.
would be happy
Hot
about that as you go
nuclear
crawling through the wreckage. And I was
marshmallow
going to
lace
say, you had
wrap.
this spot on, because the last time you were on, you talked about all this taking place.
Usually
So
I
where
get
does
on
the
that stuff
Fed
about myself
play
getting
into
on the
this?
stick
Because
and
obviously,
putting my
you know,
nose
the
on
days
it.
of the Fed having our back are seemingly gone, at least in the short term. And, you know, a Fed that's been underwriting the broader market
You know, the
is
game
no
right
longer
here,
there.
just as review is
I agree.
to
I mean,
get
I
up
think the
to
idea
sensibly
that
why
the Fed
they
is
do
gonna
this.
act
If I didn't put in the
response to market
competitive
volatility
equilibrium
is not
limit,
necessarily the right
I would
framework
probably have
today.
gotten
I mean,
there faster
the Fed's
because the
dual
framework of
mandate,
me
neither
doing
of
something
those,
to the C++
those
droid program
metrics
and that you
include
have
the
by
S&P
teachers
500. So I think we
keeping
need
you in
to
the framework.
get used
So
to
man,
the
bear
idea
pig on my
that, you know,
timeline.
asset inflation maybe is behind us,
Doing
and we're
some
now
of the
heading
stuff
for real
that
inflation.
says, you know, most
So
of you
look,
you
I
wouldn't,
think
but you wouldn't
energy
understand
still
from the
works.
overhead of the
From
Plague
where I'm sitting, it's
Incorporated that
still very
COVID crap they give
underweight.
you
It
isn't
still
just
offers
missing days.
much higher free cash flow than, say, tips or other proxies
You
for
know, and of course the
inflation
general's going to be like,
protection.
Bones, you know, I
And
hear you
it's
coming in.
you know,
Oh
it's
my
a
goodness.
reviled
If it
sector. It
spreads, we're
still
going to
is
get
one of the
all
most
kinds of
underrated
crazy. I know,
sectors
right? If you took off
by
your mask, but
long-only
at the end of it, the
managers.
plan's are already
I mean,
done.
I think it's interesting that even though it has doubled in
And
its
deep
weight in
down
the
on
benchmark,
in his head
nobody's
there at my
really
timeline of this one,
participated
that
in
one, you'll
that
have to watch
sector
it.
over the last 12 months. I think
Same
that
person,
might be
two
the
different
pain trade
plagues,
this
same
year, now
actor.
that it could actually hurt to
Do
be
the
underweight
Bernoulli's
some
frame
of these
rate for the laser
inflation
beam to the moon and adjust to what the
beneficiaries in the
differential is
market.
today because heat death and
Savita, that your house
Hawking
call is
radiation
for 7
lensing.
rate hikes this year, which is extremely aggressive.
And
Is
you
it
know, if
hard
your
to even say the
internal
S&P 500
index
will
isn't
move
really
even
set
higher
to
from
those kinds
here,
of
given that
metrics, again
forecast?
against
I
the
mean,
program
that means all sorts
standards,
of things
you would
for
be
stocks in
against
terms of,
pinship
you know,
does.
the
pegs.
cost of money and the dollar, etc.
Corn
Absolutely.
indexes,
So
S&P,
this is
Jim
why I
last
think
night.
we're
Now,
in
if
for a
that's fair
volatile
market,
year.
why
If
can't
Ethan
I say
Harris, our chief economist,
full
is
of
right, and we
positive?
do see, you know, 7 rate hikes. I don't think the market is pricing that in.
Do they play
I
a
think it could
funsy
be
like
really
that? I
good
mean,
for
yeah, you
parts
could
of
set
the
it.
market. I mean,
And then
you know,
later
the
on,
good
I was
news
like,
is
oh
that
my goodness, the
corporations
Fed
and
guessed wrong and
consumers
had to
are
have
holding
5,
a
right?
lot more cash than
When
they
you're
were
thinking
back
in the
in
T numbers
2008,
past a year and a
2009.
half, you
So
would
we
be at
all
4,
learned our
5,
lesson
6,
from the
maybe one
financial
extra
crisis,
plus
which is
7
that
on the T
leverage
number
is
for a year and
evil.
a half. You
And
might as well
this
go
could
all
actually
10 for
be a
4
better environment
and
for
just
some
call
of
it
the
40 over
cash-rich
10.
corporates. And by that, I would include some
You might as well
technology companies. I would
get
include
used to it
healthcare.
because
I
it'll
think
be a different
financials is
index
a
once the
really
Mikowski and
unlevered and
Spaceline,
interesting
frame
high-quality
rate,
sector
blockchain,
today. So, you know, I
financial,
think that this is going to be good for parts of the market.
data bank, or
Unfortunately,
what do they call
what gets
digital
hurt are
banking
some of these
system,
longer
NTF,
duration
IPO,
growth
hedge
stocks in
companies,
an environment where
fund
discount rates
system
are rising. And
bullshit
that's
gets
where
out
I
there,
think
and
the
everybody's
S&P
gonna
might
love
be in
it. You
trouble
build
because
it and
that's
they'll
a
come,
bigger
right?
weight in the benchmark.
All right, Savita, great to speak with you.
We'll
Thanks
see what
so
we got
much.
tomorrow
Savita
or later
Subramanian,
to see
today.
you.
Yeah,
BofA
stay tuned.
Securities. Karen Finerman.